Yeah. It's kind of a lot for
Right,
every
we're sorry,
day. But I had no choice. I thought I needed 5.
Do we have anyone from the public who would like to make any comments? Seeing none, we'll move right along. Minutes.
So I'm a little confused about the September 9th. On the September 9th minutes, it says be approved on September 9th.
Oh, yes, I did make that. So I meant the most,
So the
August.
minutes of September 9th says
Yes.
be approved the minutes.
Yes, sorry. I'll make that. Okay,
So it was the August meeting?
August, yes. So it's August. I can make that change before.
Have fun, thank you.
Yeah.
Remember, I was in high tech physics out of that.
Do we have any other changes?
I didn't see it. I'm well, never mind.
I don't know.
I'm fine.
Looks good.
Yep.
Fred, will you make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the 9th, September 9th, August 19th, and February 11th.
With that date change for the August meeting?
This is really second.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, EPG update.
Yeah, so I think what we were gonna do is Lauren would go through her updates
Okay,
first, then hop off and we could continue.
okay. Lauren, it's all you.
Okay, sounds good. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. And here I'll start sharing my screen. Hopefully. Yeah, there we go. Zoom is just that much different than Teams. Okay, let me get my screen set up. Okay, so I think everyone can see my quick agenda here right now. Hopefully. So just a quick update, pretty much mirrors what's in the agenda for the CPC meeting. Basically going to be going over a quick design update, brief schedule update, talking about the comment responses as well as some of the costs. And I know Jackie will get into a little bit more of a comprehensive look at that when you guys chat with her. So brief design update, and I know a lot of you have been going to a lot of the Tuesday meetings that we've been having, so some of this might be a repeat, but the SRF package was submitted as a whole. So all of GHD's items are up on the SharePoint site in the SRF design documents folder. So if you haven't already, if you wanted to peek at any of the specifications or the reports or the design drawings, they're all up on SharePoint for you to look at. So other than that, we are progressing towards a final design. And I'll talk a little bit more about some future meetings that we'll have to give Apex, a chance to relook at the drawings from more of that, like closer to 90% perspective. So we're working on that. And then the only other thing that I wanted to show, and I'm not going to show it, I'll have you guys look at it if you want to, but we did have an updated rendering video created from basically the kind of blank white one. I did show it to Jackie. So I don't know if it's going to play, if you can hear the music, but I'm going to play 1 second and then highly recommend you look at it. It shows the transfer station and everything. So anyway, I wanted to share that really quickly. So that's in the public outreach materials folder. I know there's a lot of capabilities with our graphic folks, but I just get really excited when I see kind of everything in on paper, I guess, or digitally. So feel free to look at that. Any questions on design updates from anybody? Okay. Next on to schedule. So the design and bidding schedule essentially still stands as it is right now. We had our bidding time starting in July, or pardon me, in January, I think around January 12th, with final design documents around January 9th, basically after the holidays. So the dates in there still stand, until we hear anything differently as far as SRF goes. The other thing I did want to mention too, and we'll be adding this, and I know Jackie and I will be putting together a more detailed schedule, is adding in an interim deadline or an interim distribution for the contract drawings. Probably the first 2 weeks of November, most likely that Friday, November 7th or Monday, the 10th. And that will be an opportunity for everyone to look at the plans again, have more of those value engineering items laid out, as well as give Apex the opportunity to go through their comment list and you'll be able to check things off that were addressed or not. Again, we've talked about them a lot, and a lot of them we will be addressing. It's just a matter of getting it on the drawings. So with that, I'll jump into the comments, and then if there's any questions on either of those items, you can let me know. So we did have a civil design meeting review this week with Apex's civil staff as well as GHD's civil staff, just to go over the comments, since I think for whoever sat on that comment review, there were a number of comments for the civil package. Just to make sure we're all on the same page and, are taking into account some of the design considerations that Apex went over. So we went through and, asked some of our clarifying questions, and Apex's civil engineer also brought up some things. So that was a productive meeting and helped, shape what the comment responses will be for the civil design. And a lot of work had been done between the 60 and SRF submittal. So I think a lot of that was addressed. And when we have the interim submittal, that's when we'll have a value engineering meeting, so we can see, on the drawings what was incorporated. I know there's certain things that we're planning on looking at as far as reducing paving and things of that nature. I think probably we've heard the update from me already that we did reduce the thickness of the walls where possible based on our structural engineers calculations and the model created. And most of that has been incorporated, and it's just flowing through the different disciplines that might need to move stuff around. So we'll keep everybody posted on that meeting. And again, it would be Apex and GHD, and then anyone, from the town that wanted to attend, we would open it up to them as well. I guess any questions on schedule or comment meetings?
As far as the schedule, you and Jackie are going to get together to provide a more detailed schedule that hasn't occurred yet, or it's occurring over the next month or
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we have our Friday meeting. So yeah.
And I'll get into the detail as far as bid packages, qualifications, and the whole bit. Go into all that
Yep.
detail. Okay.
Okay, so last on my brief agenda was some of the costs development. So I think you're going to talk probably more about the cash flow with Jackie, as she's incorporated what GHD put together to incorporate for the whole project. So I wanted to bring this up right now, and this will kind of, as we put together a more detailed sequence of construction, we'll probably be able to move around some of this a little bit, but I know it was thought that there might be too large of a draw in any given year. And when going through this, the maximum, and apologize, I kind of put it in a GHD fiscal year, but it's about $23 million for the treatment plant for all of the services. So the construction phase services, from the engineering side, as well as the wastewater treatment plant, the construction cost itself. So, we've started incorporating some of the, I guess I'll say, limits on when work will be initiated. We've talked about the fact that we can't clear the site until November based on some bats that have habitat in the area. So we'll have shop drawings, mobilization assumes that everything, gets awarded as it should at the end of June, and notice to proceed basically happens right after the 4th of July. And again, as we finalize the sequence of construction or the recommended sequence of construction, we'll be able to adjust this a little bit more. Obviously, the SBR equipment is one of the larger packages as far as process equipment goes. I want to say it's over $3 million worth of equipment. Again, that's the internals of the SBR tanks, the blowers, even the disc filters would be coming within that package. So that would be a large sector of the stored materials that would come in. And then we've got time for startup after the construction's done. I guess any initial questions on cash flow?
Is fiscal year line up, in terms of
Ours and theirs?
yours, theirs, SRS, the towns?
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all
Everybody's
straight.
on June
To everyone.
Yeah,
So I believe it's a calendar year, and sorry, I kind of, so yeah, this would be the regular, and I can show it both ways, and I'm not sure if, how Jackie showed it, but yeah, so like this is the total 23,190,000. I think it was similar for this next year. Just under 23 million.
And have you guys put your cash flow against it? So it wasn't no document that
It's in the separate document.
separate document, right? So that we don't have the two together.
This is the two
Yes,
together.
if they're together.
get to yell Fred, so they can hear us.
Well, let's see, the question I had was the $50 million for the first year that would be allocated in January of 26.
Yeah.
Even though they don't approve the project until June of 26.
Yeah,
Okay,
So they give the project approval certificate, so that's what we submitted October 3rd, and then they're reviewing that right now.
Yeah.
And they have it drafted by the beginning of December.
Yeah.
And then that's, project approval certificate, so.
good. Well, it's nice the way you did the drawdown. Proves it
So we
works.
should see.
Yeah, in theory. Yeah.
I guess any other questions on this? And again, I know you'll go over a little bit more with Jackie.
Did you wanna, it's okay if we ask a few questions on the estimate?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the overall wastewater treatment plant estimate?
Yeah.
Sure.
We made note, or I made note before, the automation seemed low. Was the software and programming out of that number? Or is it in that
So-
number?
So for the instrumentation or automation, a number of the panels and other items are actually included by the manufacturer. So that's why partially why that number looks low. And then the actual, I guess, instrumentation programming will be completed by GHD. So that's actually included in the construction phase services. So yeah, when you get down to the automation, it only ends up being like a couple PLCs and, some network interface cabinets, and then some, random, I guess I'll say level sensors and floats and things of that nature. Because by and large for this project, the manufacturers of the equipment provide the controls.
Right. One number that jumped out as being probably a lot compared to the size is the translucent panels. Is there alternates to that, or is that you're stuck with that? The only reason I asked the question is it's not a lot of times you're gonna be taking them out. It's very rarely you'll be taking them out. is there, would it be cheaper to take windows out later? Than dollars for translucent panels?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was one of our 60% comments.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we discussed it briefly in one of the calls.
Yeah, we asked to look into different material. They are expensive, there's no question about that. I think the functionality, Lauren, I'm not gonna speak on your behalf, but just to allow some lights into the building, right? That was the whole, but I think at the workshop that we had here in September, the discussion was that the GHD team may be looking into something different, right?
I was wondering, do you put storefront in and take the storefronts out when you need access? Be a lot cheaper.
Yeah, they are definitely expensive, there's no question.
Yeah.
We both had
Right.
that, so.
Yeah. I don't have a report on something different at this moment, but I'll definitely check in with the team. I think probably even something that was, not translucent could be cheaper. I do know that they were trying to make sure there was, a lot of natural light that would come into the building. And those cow walls would, allow for the tanks to be removed in the future. But yeah, that's something, and especially if it was a comment, I know we've talked a lot. I can't remember what we discussed as far as alternates, but I'll check in with the team as far as other options.
Okay. Couple of pages, the contractors breakdown didn't match the total for the estimate for that area, so I didn't know if it was just which numbers are right, but I'm assuming that the estimate numbers are right and the contractors breakdown was incorrect.
For where are you looking?
For example, on page, let me read it. 9.
Oh, here, let me grab the PDA. Is that, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that
Order control?
odor control?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
are you looking at the one that I uploaded yesterday, or is it an older one?
Probably an older one now.
Okay. There was one item in the summary that was referencing like a total cost instead of a subtotal cost. I'm not sure. I don't remember if it was that or not.
The sub-file bids total that didn't match the estimate.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, that's the.
is it this number matching this number?
Yeah. And it also occurred on the treatment building, same thing.
There was some, when I uploaded that last one, it was more of an, oh. Okay, catch me on the one thing I didn't check. So I know, so this one I know is right. So
Okay.
I'll have to check in. Oh, I wonder if it's electrical. Yeah, I can check to see what the bust is down here. Good catch. Treatment building. Filed subbids. Yeah, so I did go through and double checked. And there's, obviously when you look at this subtotal versus this number, there is rounding that's going on. For the most part, we were trying to round to 3 significant figures. So you'll kind of see some of that throughout, where, the subtotals might not match the total costs. So was it just these items?
Too big. Yeah.
Okay.
Another question was, I think Apex asked the question on their evaluation of how you handled the Cape Cod effect on cost as well as the tariffs. How did you handle that?
Yeah, for the Cape Cod, we referenced some existing bids that we had gotten from other municipalities in the area. So I guess I'll show you what we did essentially for the filed sub bids. What we did was evaluate a couple projects based on what our estimate was versus what the lowest filed sub bid was that wasn't the actual GC, because obviously sometimes they can do certain work themselves, and it's not necessarily reflective of what an actual sub bidder that isn't already on the site would be doing. So we had some price factors that we incorporated into the unit prices. Primarily, this mainly affects the architectural and I think plumbing and HVAC items. And electrical. So that's how we took into account some of that. We also did bake into some of the items, like a location factor, not necessarily a contingency, but a location factor for the Cape. And had compared these to other projects that we had done recently. As far as the tariffs, it is hard at this point to I guess put an exact pin in that. But we do have a 10% contingency from, overall, but.
I mean, European tariffs, what, 10% right now? Did you apply 10% to the cost that we had?
So we honestly, a lot of the equipment has to be American made, which I know there's components of it that will come from overseas, but we've gone to the effort of looking at a lot of the equipment and making sure that it's BABA compliant. So we have to have, Build American, Buy American compliant items, as well as the AIS compliant items, American Iron and Steel. So by and large, a lot of the equipment should be coming from here. We are planning on, there are some items, especially the automation items, that we are probably going to get stuck with having to put on a de minimis list, which is essentially a list that we can include up to, the number is going to escape me. I want to say it's like up to 5% of the total project cost. And then any one item cannot be more than 1% of the total project costs. So I think the one last thing we are looking at that we might potentially have to put on that de minimis list that I guess could come from overseas is the generator, because there's some custom items to make sure it's as soundproof as possible. So we didn't put, I guess, long story short, we didn't put a tariff factor onto the items.
So most of the process equipment you can buy it domestically. Okay.
Yeah, most of it, not all of it, but the good majority of it. Usually it's a few valves a lot of times that we'll have to either get a waiver for or see what we can get from a BABA compliant version.
Probably the pumps will have to come from overseas as well, right? So some components will have to come from overseas, but I guess to Steve's question, there's no additional contingency other than the 10%, correct? There's no like specific tariff contingency.
We don't have,
right?
No, not at this point, no. That's something we could look at and talk about. But again, a lot of the equipment, and I think even the pumps, the pumps that we're looking at right now are BABA compliant. So they're, in theory, I forget what the terminology is, substantially complete in the United States. So these are.
With this, Lauren, you're 10% now. Obviously, as we get closer to the final design, that contingency is going to drop to 5%, correct?
Right. I think once we get the bids come in, it gets dropped to 5%.
So maybe we'll carry just the thought, keep carrying the 10% moving forward on the job, just in case.
Oh, I would say.
Some other things.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
Has Apex done their estimate on the plant as well as the cost comparison?
Yeah, we're pushing very hard for this, but Jackie could give an update. I think we should be getting one by the end of the month.
Yeah, we told them end of the month. We gave it the same time as we got the SRF plans. I immediately sent it to them, so.
Can I ask a question? Lauren, so the foreign stuff, I remember several meetings ago, was it just the pumps or a lot of the equipment? My understanding was Denmark made the best stuff and it was all going to come from Denmark. Are we, so is that true? But also, by switching to this Build Build American, Buy American, are we gonna get lesser quality stuff? And then what's the penalty if you wanna buy more than 5% from foreign suppliers? Is it just that you have to pay the tariff, or is there an additional?
So if it's more than 5%, you'd have to get a waiver for the item, and you'd have to have, you know, a backup for why, you know, if it literally doesn't exist, and it's not made in any US manufacturing plant, that's, you know, a reason to get a waiver.
Who gives out those waivers?
So the waiver is
Um,
not guaranteed.
Right.
It's up to SRF to decide whether this would be acceptable or not. You have to make a strong case, right? Why you're going with product A versus product B, right? The other thing is if everything fails and you decide to buy something that doesn't meet the requirements, you're risking the fact that becomes ineligible, SRF ineligible, right? So that's, you know, you still pay for it, still gonna go into the plant, but you won't get the reimbursement from the state on that particular item.
So,
So that's how it gets.
That's how it looks, yeah. I mean, de minimis, what Lauren was talking about, if it just like you could ask for a waiver, like, okay, a little bit of forgiveness here because I need something and
Yeah.
it's, you know, I could get it Chinese made in 2 days as opposed to having something manufactured in Milwaukee and I'm gonna wait 5 months for it. Maybe you could apply, get some de minimis, and for the most part, I think they allow you to do that. Not all the time. Especially it depends who you have as an engineer on this project from SRF. Sometimes they go just by the book.
so cost is not a good reason to waiver.
No, not usually. Yeah,
So,
and go ahead.
No, I was just wondering because you know, obviously you're designing around aqua aerobics and I'm not sure if all their manufacturing line is in the United States. I'm sure they get something from overseas, right?
Yeah, let me double check. So we do have like a big master spreadsheet where we've been contacting vendors to figure out if they have BABA compliant, you know, items. I want to say that we did get word from Aqua Aerobics that everything was, you know, at least I will say met BABA and AIS requirements. But let me double check on we have gotten some certification or like sample certification letters from some manufacturers, so I'll check into that. And I would say, I think to Peter's earlier comment, you know, a lot of the equipment that we are specifying, you know, we're comfortable with, and I wouldn't say that it's necessarily like a lesser manufacturer or quality. I think, you know, this has been going on, I don't know, 15 years now when it started with Era. And I think a lot of companies have been able to source enough of their items from the United States for a specific project like this. And they've made it work. I also have heard when they haven't made it work and things get stopped at the port and sent back to the country it came from. So I know that does happen too. But yeah, I mean, I think luckily we don't have like any real out of the box pumps or equipment that, you know, I don't know. I feel like there's a couple pumps that, yes, they, you know, do come from Europe, but I think we're good here.
So I guess what we'll do is once we get the our cost estimators breakdown, you know, we'll see what they're recommending to carry for BABA and other requirements. But I think to be safe, you know, we're all in agreement that 10% should be carried forward, right?
Agreed. Yeah, and that's a good point too. So I was expecting once Apex gets that cost estimate from the third party, that we would have a meeting to, you know, go over any, you know, differences and try to, you know, reconcile where we might have been estimating things differently.
The only thing, Lauren, I could say that our cost estimator, they have a line item for the tariff impacts and then also for BABA requirements. So they carry those as separate line items. So we'll have to kind of reconcile those differences once we get the breakdown from them.
Okay.
Time to carrying, or is it? or-
They carry a number based on the actual equipment, you know, what, you know, yeah.
Good.
So.
So yeah, I will check out that, the filed sub bid section at the bottom just to make sure everything matches. I do know that everything on the sheets does match, this summary sheet. And if you haven't looked, like I said, I did, upload a revised version last night, to the SharePoint site.
Put a note next to that tariff. This is not a political statement.
I know, you know, and that's honestly kind of why we haven't necessarily added a blanket contingency per se, because since we know SRF is so, I guess I'll say, particular about how the contingency is portrayed. So if we do need to do that, you know, we definitely have ways of, you know, putting it into, you know, the unit costs and things like that. Oh, and I guess the one new thing that was updated is the, filed sub bid summary. So that's probably the third page in the, new file that just summarizes all of the filed sub bids that we're expecting to have on the job. I guess any other questions on the cost estimate?
Too bad this isn't less than 10 million bucks, so we wouldn't have to go through the process.
Right?
Yeah, can you get it to us?
Ah, that would be handy,
Yeah, it would have been handy, sure.
Right.
Would have maybe 2 months worth of,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it might get us like a tank or two,
yeah.
but okay, I guess any other questions for me before I jump off?
No,
Okay. Well, thanks everyone. Obviously, you know where to find me if you've got additional questions, and I'll look into those couple items we talked about, the translucent panels, the aqua aerobic certification, that treatment building, making sure those numbers match up, and then, yeah, scheduling a cost estimate meeting once we get the third party.
Thanks,
Okay.
Lauren.
Great. Thanks everyone. Have a good
all right.
evening.
You can-
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, I figured we don't have to get in the weeds if you don't want to, but, we could go over some collection systems. I just figured I'd provide some updated numbers, and this has been, I think, a couple meetings since we had them. Just to update based on our SRF submission. So for the map, what we ended up, and it kind of goes with the table. I think it was sometime the end of last year. So we originally started by, we decided what our area was going to be, and then we did the flow calcs based on the water usage data, Title V information estimates. But then when we went to go size the pump stations, we needed to figure out the different ranges during the summer, during the winter, right when the plant starts, at full build out, and have some kind of ranges so we could size the pumps correctly. So that's what this main table was. We were looking at current annual average daily flow based on current usage. And then that future annual average daily flow was when we took into account development on Route 6 or some of the parcels expanding or being developed. I think there are a lot of dev land parcels inside that don't have
What
anything.
page you doing?
This one.
This,
Yeah, the second one right there. Yeah.
this is the cost.
Yeah, it has the pump station ID name on the left column.
Yeah. So where is the, I'm sorry. It's this.
The chart. I think you have the papers in front of you also.
Yes, I don't think she sent it in the back.
Oh, this is
A flow.
I'm looking at dollars, man. Well,
Yeah.
It is a copy.
no.
The much copy.
Yeah, so those first two are from our original numbers, and then what we want to try to look at is current and future just means current as it's built out right now, and then future was including all of the contingency we added, and if businesses could expand on Route 6 eventually. And then the difference between the winter and summer, Kim and Hillary helped me go through a lot of the parcels and kind of look into what we would consider winter versus summer. So if different businesses were open during summer, not closed during the winter, or we looked at the tax bills to see who were year-round residents, who were part-time residents, just so we could get
Well,
a basis from the numbers. So that's what we ended up using. We called it winter, but also we wanted to consider the lowest. We didn't want to end up, building a pump station and then it's super low flow in the winter, super low flow to start, and it's not sized correctly. So
Does that harm the pump?
A couple things. When you have a pump doesn't turn the flow, becomes septic, right? You want to avoid being in a septic condition where the water is going to turn into sludge there at the end. It's just a nightmare. And the pumps have to come on and off, specific number of time they're going to cycle off and on within the hour, right? If they don't, you can't exceed that number. And at the same time, you cannot be below that number either. So they have to come on and off. And we,
If there's not enough effluent to.
yeah, at the beginning, you're probably going to have less people connecting. It's going to be some time before the pumps are going to, turn on and then be functional. And at the beginning, we had like 5 pumping stations. We ended up eliminating 1 because it's not going to see much flow at all. And then you all right, what is the trade-off here? Do you want to own a pump station that's not going to function, or we just go with a few grinder pumps and solve that issue that way? So that's the trade-off. And then I think we ended up with 4 pumping stations as opposed to 5.
do you have to add water to the system just to?
Well, that's what some people do. You have to, 2 things you could mitigate when you have a wet well, because usually the pump comes on when the level of the fluid or the liquid in the wet well comes up to a certain point. And it shuts off when you reach that point. So you could tighten that band so that way the pump comes on and off more often than not. That's one. Second, so when people do, they just put water in there to kind of get them to exercise. And so that way they don't go septic. And that happens especially at the beginning when, you're asking people to connect and just people taking their time to do it.
So you make
right?
provisions in that in the design?
Well,
Or not?
it's in operations actually.
Oh, it's operations.
Yeah, so in the design, you say, okay, here's what, maybe we'll give the wet well like 1 foot of operating level, so that way it comes on more often than. And then the operations, when you have a wastewater treatment plant, you have a collection system functioning, you have staff to do it. So oftentimes you may want to come in and just add some water there to kind of promote the pumps to come on. So it is something that to kind of look at when you get to the point to have a plan, so that way you're not risking the impact of the pumps, and it is an operational thing to think about.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jackie.
But oversizing the pump for the peak future use.
Well, the configuration in those pump stations, usually you have 2 pumps, right, in the wet well. There's a lead and a lag, right? So the 1 pump should be able to handle for the flow for the most part.
That's it.
And then sometimes they alternate to keep the same runtime on them, right? They keep alternating. Like 1 pump runs for like a week, before the other pump runs for the following week, so give the other pump a rest. But usually that configuration is a one pump in operation, the other one standby.
See the article in the paper today about the projected population of the Cape Tropic.
No, not yet. Which paper?
It was Cape Times. It made reference to the bridges.
Oh, right.
The total population was 220 out there. I thought it was higher than that, but they said they actually projected in 2050 to be down to 170.
Wow.
That's a big drop.
Yeah, so.
I didn't expect you to pick that up here. It's like schools, it's like, we're not gonna keep growing.
Say, I thought we were at like 240 something.
I thought so
a while
too.
ago.
Yeah, maybe it was old data that they were using. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that
They think it's gonna go the other way.
yeah. So,
Well, all the households are getting smaller, so that's one thing, right?
Yeah.
That's a trend that's gonna continue, so
Yep.
smaller and older.
birth rate, yeah.
So should we
those are-
design for less here?
oh, you're looking at
Yeah, I
future, who knows, right?
So the grinder pump estimates on the cost flow here were based on this, we're gonna need more grinder pumps for fuel pump stations, so
Right.
taking that into account.
We made some, just, maybe a couple weeks ago, I forget the location that we checked, it just
Oh,
didn't make any sense
Children's
to,
Play.
sorry,
We took off children's
Children,
play,
yeah.
just because we
So
found
that's where
that,
that question mark one was, right?
Yeah.
right, we wanted it there just because it gave us more gravity, less grinder pumps, but then when we evaluated cost and the fact, like Ziad was talking about going septic, it really wasn't enough flow. So if we could divert that flow to, I think we chose the elementary school and
Elementary.
transfer station.
and you know, to put a pump station in is not cheap, as you know, right?
Mhm.
You know, one, you have to get the land and, you know, for the most part, they're owned by the town, but,
5 million apiece.
$5 million piece,
For your-
right, exactly, so like, all right, how many grinder pumps I could do? And that 5 million, right?
Yeah, three.
I know the homeowner is probably not gonna love that, if you're, you know, every time you're on gravity, you can go on gravity, you take that approach. But, you know, the trade-off between having to put a pump in to only collect, you know, a small amount of flow. Anything less than, let's just say 10,000 gallons per day, it's hard to size a pump and then make it functional, right? You have to have some serious flow coming into the pump to justify it. In this instance here, we thought that definitely the grinder pumps are the way to go here. Shallower sewer, quicker installation, you're saving the $5 million, but then on the flip side, you have grinder pumps for those folks.
And you're figuring the grinder pump cost will come out of the project.
I think so. I think that's the way it's gotta be. Yeah, yeah.
But if you're on a grinder pump, you also are gonna be required to have a generator?
So the grinder pumps usually have capacity to hold if the single simplex, like a single pump in there. Usually they have capacity 75 to 100 gallons. And they have a panel right there. It says, you know, like an alarm thing that
Yeah.
says it's full, whatever. If I don't know if it's gonna be, we haven't thought that far, but either the homeowner would have to get the generator on their own, or they
Yeah.
have to figure out to stop using it if there's a extended length of time when there's a loss of power, right?
That was one of the concerns that we heard from the public at some
Right.
of our public meetings, was what happens when the power goes out.
Yeah. So again, you only have 75 gallons, that's
Mhm.
maybe 3 showers, and then you gotta stop, right? If you have a power outage for 2 or 3 days, now that's another story. The town cannot really go and stop pumping every single one of them. I think we have a handful here, but most of the time, the homeowner will probably get a generator to make that work. But it should be on them now.
How many residents we talking about this?
Okay, how many of us,
300. How many
300.
300 grinder pumps?
total, yeah?
What size generator they need so much?
I don't think it's gonna be, I mean, it's,
Rich,
yeah,
Rich had to put one in his house in Orleans and he said it's much smaller. It's not like a full
Yeah,
house
right,
generator. It's like a small.
but usually it's they're, you know, not like massive voltage or anything, they're.
Right.
But if you're gonna put a small one in, you might wanna,
You put a whole house? in?
yeah.
So, you're talking about 300 houses in
Yeah.
Provo?
300 pumps, yeah,
But if there's only 700 in the whole project,
about
if
800.
my numbers wrong, that's a pretty big chunk of the whole project.
Right.
Well, it's like gravity, you know, we don't have it.
So,
I know,
But
but we
is
got,
that-
so we
are
got
those
four
figures-
pumps. 4 pumps serving, 500.
Yeah.
And,
Right,
so,
is that right?
so we had 800 connections in total,
Right,
close to 800, and the final number for the grinder pumps is about 300.
so,
But the
so,
pump stations would still, the grinder pumps just pump it from
They
your
pump
house
it.
into the main, so it would still all go to the pump stations. And then one,
sure, I'm just at all I'm focusing on here is 300 people having to use a grinder pump and a generator.
So Fred, that number could have been a lot more, to be honest with you, because Route 6, the depth of excavation is very deep. And the previous concept, they had it all on granite pumps. That could have been even a lot more than 300, okay? So what we're entertaining there, a concept where you drill a line, horizontal directional drill, to kind of minimize the impact on construction, and you have a shallow line to pick up all the gravity systems, right? So that way you're not adding more granite pumps. Otherwise, if you were to do granite pumps on Route 6, that number would be maybe close to 500. And that's what we're trying to.
It just seems like a big number.
It is a big number, right?
If it's taking out one pump, how many households are on the other pump stations?
Right. Well, I
Well-
think what went into it too is we were able to get the road to be gravity. But then if a lot of the houses off the road were lower than the road, so even if it was a gravity main, they would still need a grinder pump
You get
to
it.
get it to the main.
If you built the pump station at the children's place, any idea how many grinding pumps you need? Would that eliminate a lot of the grinder pumps?
I don't think it
I
eliminated
think it was
very
like
many.
13 or 18, I think it was.
Yeah.
Still need 300.
Did Orleans require the generator?
I think so.
Did they ever?
What's the cost of a grinder pump? I mean, to put a number
So-
on it.
Yeah,
Well,
so the grinder pump to purchase, depending on which brand you go with, they vary between $4,500 to $10,000 a piece.
Just so everyone knows, Richard did assume that we were paying for the grinder pumps.
Yeah, and that's in this cost, for.
Like every
That's-
community track, it does the same thing. I know Nantucket does the same, and they're just basically, you gift them to the homeowner. It becomes, once they have them, it becomes their responsibility.
Operation maintained.
So then you got 3.5 million for 300 and some. So that's, you're figuring on the high side to 10,000.
But I'm sure that's installation too, or just
Yeah, so again, it's, now
to do inspections and.
you have installation and startup, and then you have some electrical components that would have to be mounted on the side of the house for the grinder pump, right? So all of that is configured in here in this cost estimate.
So that was one of the items we increased, because I think it was 1.7 in the TWMP, but then we wanted to, for this latest SRF submission, increase it just for the new count that we had, and then the fact that it's not like you're gonna buy them up front and let them sit until the plant's done, probably buy them towards the end, so.
The other question I had on that was, once people are hooked up, say in contracts 1 and 2, you don't think anybody's gonna be jumping on installation of granite pumps early? Cause you got them all down here. None of this would be up here.
I think mostly just with the plant not being online.
Oh.
My train of thought, but.
To hook up the connection,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, you have to, again, this is all drawn parallel to the plant we have, I think allocated 4 years of construction, right? And we'll get into the schedule a little bit more. But I just say you have contractor on board by June 30th with this potential start date of July 1, 2026. I think the plant has to be functional, operational, and turned over to the town before you could take any flows into the plant, right? So. You install the grinder pumps and you make all the provisions in place, but the final connection doesn't happen unless the plant is functional,
mhm.
right? So most likely it's gonna be 3 years from now at a minimum.
So it's normal practice.
Yeah. And then you hope that then a lot of people would want to connect because you want flow to be coming into the plant. You don't want to be trickling down Bankville.
I guess the other point with these figures, so part of the calculation was because when you're designing the wet well, we have to figure out how large to make it, so, because you're not gonna go back and dig it up later, whereas you can always upsize and change pumps. So we did look at the phase 2 flow and considered that going into we're just calling it the Route 6 South area, and to be able to accommodate that flow.
What's the wet well again? Sorry.
So the flow comes in from the collection system into a structure where the pump station is located. So the configuration is a tank or concrete precast tank where the pumps go. That's the wet
Oh,
well.
that's the wet well.
And there's a valve vault outside to be able
Holding
to.
tank.
Exactly. And then the pumps would be submersible pumps inside that wet well. And then above grade, you would have an enclosure with a generator and the control panels for the pumps and everything else. That's the typical pump station configuration.
Station.
Stormwater, and then we added,
So
you know,
each
fencing.
station has a wet well.
Correct.
And then, yeah,
So the
so,
pump stations were less expensive than the other two. Smaller.
So, yeah, I mean, economy of scale, I guess. It's a pump station. You have to prep the site. You have to bring electrical. You have to bring all the
Yeah,
other
no,
components.
that's why I figured they'd all be the same, but your breakdown was, they had mobilization separately and then.
Right.
Pump stations and two were.
Yeah, one of them is
4.3 and one, and
Yeah.
the other two are 5.9.
Yeah, because the pump sizes vary between one and the other, right?
Oh, equipment.
Yeah, and then one of them I think is fairly large. And that's gotta have to have bigger wet well, bigger components. So,
So
yeah, it was the 2 on Route 6.
they're not all cookie cutter.
right,
The pump station would be one contract.
correct.
Yep.
And that's we lump those together into contract number 5, and Jackie will go into the thing, but we have 5 contracts in total. The last thing you want to do is just put those pump stations in place. And then you make the connection to the gravity sewer along that alignment.
So, yeah, like Ziad said, we ended up breaking it out.
Beat this horse a little bit. So when the homeowner has to put this pump station, you mentioned electrical, does these grinder pumps run on 30 amp, 100 amp? What kind of service do they need in the house? I mean, I just don't want to saddle the homeowners with a lot of extra costs that they weren't expecting as part. I wasn't expecting as part of the project, so. Is there, what's the cost to the homeowner here?
Well,
So, yeah, so you
Like-
provide, the town or the contract provides the grinder pump, the pump control panel, and,
It's it's external.
all on the outside
Inside
of the house. Outside the house, right? And now, you know, as you know here, like every sewer projects, you just, you know, when we design something, we show on paper, you get a main line coming down, you know, Route 6, whatever, and you have a house right here. So you talk to the homeowner, you know, take a look at your plumbing inside. Where's your septic tank today located, right? Do you need to change all the plumbing to come to the front? You know, would we leave you a stub here, or would you rather have a stub on this side of the house, right?
with water. Yeah.
Same thing with water, right? And now,
But I'm talking about the pump.
Yeah.
Right,
We're gonna have to do that anyway.
correct. But you know, now the flow from the house into the grinder pump, that comes by gravity, right? So they'll have to connect it from the inside of the house through the foundation into that grinder pump that's sitting.
The same way they would if.
Exactly.
If they weren't using a grinder.
Right. Electrical, they need to connect this grinder pump to their electrical
So
panel.
that's my question.
That's on them as well.
How big a pump? What's the electrical requirements? I think that's what he's asking.
Right.
Yeah, I think those are
Do I
like,
have to have 30 amp service, or is it, what kind
Is
of
it
service?
Yeah.
a 220? Do you even?
I think it's
Sorry,
220.
come
yeah.
here, well,
It's 220.
panel.
Well, no, I have a pretty new house and I'm already at I got 200 amp service and then
Maxed
I
out.
put a
maxed out.
electric induction range in and now I'm maxed out and I technically don't have enough power to put a electric charger for an electric car. So I'd have to, figure out, might have to upgrade to 400 amp service and it's big.
Oh,
it's
for a
big.
sub, you can put a sub panel.
No, you know, when you have a 200 amp service and you're already at 200 amp,
Oh, okay.
electrical inspector's gonna want you to.
You're gonna put
upgrade
another
your
200
service.
amp, yeah, right.
What does that cost?
Thousands,
Thousands?
I think so, for.
Like high thousands or low thousands?
I think 4
I don't-
grand, 3-4 grand?
3 or
I don't know.
4,000.
I'm about to find out.
Okay, all right, you'll let us know.
Well, what we've got,
We did talk to people, about some of the costs that they're gonna incur with the site work, so we did give them a number. I can't remember what number we put out, but it
The
was,
generator would be a similar number for.
yeah. Yeah, and I feel like we were talking like 20,000. It was a comparable cost to a Title V septic system plus engineering when we were giving
Right.
this number out. So we did give people a higher number
Yeah.
for site work and said, you might be one of the fortunate ones that could get away with something less than that, but we did give a realistic number.
At what, like 16,000? So I think it was like 16,000.
It was in our Q and A.
And a lot of people, well,
I wanna say it was like,
won't need the
When-
grinder pumps, but
I-
that's not who we're talking about. That's not who we're talking
That's not
about.
an insignificant number. If they,
But
had said- if you'd said 50,000, I wouldn't be asking these questions, but 300, I think we're gonna get a lot of pushback, more pushback than you get, are gonna get in the covers.
The number of grinder pumps, you mean?
Just, you know, I
The
think
cost,
it's
the cost,
almost like the
Cost.
hidden cost here.
yeah.
The homeowners didn't necessarily know about.
And the guy across the street,
They were yelling at us for it, so I think they know.
yeah,
Did they know 300 of them were gonna be in that group?
I don't
we didn't give out any
yeah,
numbers.
give out a number, but I know that
We weren't
Around
talking about, it. We were
Lansdale.
talking about using a pumping station.
Well, that's true. I mean, we always said 5 pumping stations and we couldn't justify the 5th one. Let's just be honest, because it just, the hydraulics, it just wasn't gonna work, right? So, I think you may be right. I think you know, I don't know if we floated the number of the grinder pumps at the beginning, but
Mm-mm.
you know, somehow we knew we're gonna be between 200 and 300 grind pumps. What really pushed it over the edge the other day is when we took the Children's Place pump station out. And now we're closer to 300.
but that was my question earlier. That one is just, was it for 13 or something?
The Children's Place, like either 13 or 18.
Yeah.
I can't remember now. I think we did the count.
It's a minimum.
Can't see it, yeah.
The minimum,
Yeah,
yeah,
again,
so it's
because-
already gonna be
well,
300.
And
Well, I just asked the question to see what was,
did talk about paying for the grinder pumps. I know we mentioned that in our public
Right,
session.
Right, and we've got
No,
that in the
but
budget.
we didn't say we're gonna pay for the electrical work or upgrade
Generator.
their service or anything like that.
Or generator.
What about
Well,
maintenance
generator.
in the future? Like, once it's
the
there,
grinder pumps.
yeah.
You know, it's funny, the other day we're on Nantucket, they did the Schimmel project back in 2018, 2017. They said, no, they don't hear of any complaints or any issues.
They don't break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they, I mean, they've come a long way. There's a lot of, companies that make those right now, so, but
The grinder pump cost that you're carrying includes what is it, a chamber, right? Yeah.
well, it just comes with one package.
And it gets put into
Yeah,
the ground.
Yeah, right.
So that includes all.
Right. It comes with a package and then the controls that kind of, get mounted on the side of that. So usually you see.
Trench box that comes in is obviously.
Well, yeah, I don't know what, that wasn't my question, but how big a box? Oh,
Like a
that's small.
2-foot diameter, last month I did the Maya,
So that doesn't really,
2-foot diameters of about 6 feet deep.
and that's got a
Gets buried into the ground and then
Got
you
a
just see the top.
75-gallon tank in it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you take the
Plus
cover
the
off, you
top.
can see the guts
Yeah.
of the thing inside, so.
So,
It's like, if you have irrigation thing and you see like a green fiberglass
yeah,
cover right on
Yeah.
top, that's all you see. And the little band. And I just asked the question to see if the what the electrical requirements are.
It's 30, yeah.
it's a 30 amp.
Do a break.
It's a lot. I think a lot of people would have to upgrade their service.
So we told people between 7,500 and 15,000.
And
And then when the town meeting thing had 16,000.
Oh, so,
Yeah, the difference between, basically what Rich was saying is that, it's 40 to 50 for the IA, it's 16,000
Yeah.
to hook up to something.
which would cover everything, I think, in most cases.
hopefully.
And for a lot of cases, the people that can just go straight in, it's gonna be a lot less.
And that's what, you know, a lot of people did like, I've had a lot of conversations with people that they want to know the timeline because they are literally saving money for this. Or they're, you know, they're already thinking about it. They're already putting money aside for it. You know, there's always those
Financial.
great planners
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
do that. And that's what so they were using these numbers. And that's why we generated that, was to try and not be like water where we said, you know, it was gonna cost $1,500 and people spent 12,000, you know, but to go high.
To have that happen again, yeah.
But the difference in this is that legally you have to connect. So it's a big difference between water where most people could say, you know, I'll do it 2 years from now, or I'll do it when my well pump breaks, or I'll do it
Yeah, when I have
in the
money.
future.
Yep.
This is, if it's going by your house, you are legally required to connect to it.
Right. But the town sets the timeframe, don't they?
Yeah, well, we can start with, I think everyone usually starts with, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but I think it's usually a year. And then what people find is, you know, you can't do 800 systems in a year
Right.
because everybody's
Okay,
busy.
contract.
Come around Cape Cod, so then it becomes extensions of that.
So there's a lot of ways to kind of do this. You want to incentivize people to connect, right? You have a brand new system. So if you have a failed septic system, you have to connect immediately. There's no grace period there. If your septic system is failing and you need to do something, that is sometimes what you do is you could say, okay, you have 2-3 years to connect. And then if you waive the connection fee, so that way, if you connect within a year, you could waive the town may elect to waive the connection fee, right? And that comes into the connection policy, and that would have to be drafted.
That everybody.
Yeah, right.
I agree, yeah. Well, we put a whole house generator in 2 years ago and it was 10K.
And
Yeah.
you put a big one in,
Well, whole house.
yeah. We do some kind of a program, Jackie, where the town could loan them the money and they could pay it
I
back.
think we do have more programs for wastewater than we did for water. But we had our water connection fund, and we can easily do that so that we can pay, if it's a lump sum and people can't afford the lump sum, but they can afford to pay an annual betterment as opposed to that, then yes, absolutely, we can do that. Because we already have it set up for water. So I'm assuming that any fund now is gonna be water and wastewater, like we can just add wastewater.
Yeah, a lot of people are gonna want that, well.
So I'm just
Generator.
looking online at what a New Jersey requirement would be for a grinder pump, and it says requires a 240-volt, single-phase dedicated circuit.
Wow, so you have to bring a new circuit to it.
No,
I'm just reading from, I'm just Googling online, so you know.
Yeah, but it's 220, so.
Yeah. But if somebody's looking up our cut sheet for the ones that we specified, this will give an answer quickly. My computer died, otherwise I would have looked it up. Sure.
Okay, that horse is beating to death.
But I used to right and bring it up again.
Back to it.
Definitely not done with it.
There's a lot more, if there's 100 and maybe it's almost half of the
Well, it's,
I know it's gonna come back to bite us, I'm telling
I mean, it's not a math, but it's not almost half.
you. I have a degree in math. I think close to half.
Just saying, it's usually me exaggerating. Yeah.
And for the mapping, we set up our GIS database, so we'll be able to have all the ones who have a grinder pump, so you can type
Oh,
it in and
good.
search.
Oh, good. Is that up and running yet or not yet?
I don't think so.
It's in
All of
Jack's-
this
we'll start reading.
is on here.
When that comes out.
Where was the other pump station on this map? I know where was.
Oh, he's in children's place. Right? He's,
Over here.
It's not
Up
public.
in Nassau.
Yeah.
I don't think you have the updated one though. Okay, well,
We like the naps, but not.
Nuts.
There's children's space.
Music.
Oh,
That's right.
so where they're right then?
Somewhere on that property. I think there's up near where that green thing is cut into. There's that's the flat.
I
So
saw,
that line would have to be super, super deep. To be able to have them all on scratch.
It's like 13 or 18.
Right, but I mean, to have them on gravity, that line would have been, the
that,
main line would have been.
we show that to anyone, I don't think anyone feels that.
19 feet deep. It's way too much there. And it wasn't gonna work.
The deepest
It's like
part
a
of it.
massive white building.
So the deepest point on Route 6
Shows you right here.
was
It's in the
20
folder, most of the.
and
What?
Yes,
22 feet.
20.
Where is it?
yeah.
Oh, where is it on the alignment? I don't really have the deepest point on Route 6. I don't have that figure. But in any,
It's just
so,
I think
22
it was
feet.
by Main Street.
Hmm?
I think it was by the Main Street Mercantile.
yeah, 22 feet deep on Route 6 is very risky. So I think we're just gonna drill it there and
You can
send the
drill a
man.
big pipe like that.
Yeah, send the line through and
Just
then
drill them all. Expensive.
drilling's very expensive. And it's only justifiable when you have,
State highway on top of it.
yeah, it's a lot quicker, a lot cheaper to just dig,
Open it up.
normal depth, right? Yeah. But then even when you drill something like that on Route 6, you still have to kind of go in there every so often and then make the connection point. But it's a lot easier to do it in a short span as opposed to having the whole thing that exposed.
How long is that 22 foot?
It's
thing?
fairly long.
Thing?
Yeah, it's fairly long. But I think to kind of minimize impact on traffic and the type of excavation there, especially at that depth. So we're thinking about drilling that one.
And where did you say it is?
I think it was by Main Street.
Main Street Mercantile.
Oh,
So some of those the pipes gonna go in the center of the highway or no, water's on.
No, yeah, so just because of the traffic impact, we keep it on the one lane. In the shoulder.
the same side as water?
The pipe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the trunk line is an 8-inch, correct?
Mhm.
No, same side even?
Same side of the water or
Yeah.
same size? Oh, the water is where on Route 6, I don't know.
It's in the south.
Kind of goes in and out, right? Yeah.
It does. Anyway, so some of the connections will be coming from the opposite.
So
side
some
of
of
the
them be
highway.
longer and some of them would be shorter. Either way, you'd have to deal with it, right? If you were to put a line in the center of the road,
Yeah, no.
You're gonna
I just
impact the
mean,
one
it's
right
just when they go to make those connections, they're gonna have to get down 22 feet.
not every one of them. So that's why we are running
Oh, you'll be able
a
to-
shallow parallel line and every manhole we drop one into the main trunk line.
So only the deep ones have to. Down.
And the deep services will have to be chimneys, right? So that way you're not gonna just run the single line from the main up to so you put a chimney up that allows you to come up and then from there you could just put a lateral.
And pick up more than one property?
Each line would serve one property.
Each chimney. You could
Correct.
do-
Each service would be, each property will have to
Separate.
have a service connection into the trunk line.
And then we also, I don't think it's shown on here, but we were also gonna have the force mains from the pump station in the same trench on Route 6.
That's good.
So basically you offset the pipes, one of them would be deeper, and then as you backfill, instead of having two pipes on top of each other, one would be offset a little bit to be able to allow you access into either one of them in the future.
I guess for some of the costs, like big picture. So we kept just everything allocated to 170. And then our SRF submission, what we changed from their submission, we kept everything the same except I think the TWMP had the 1.7 for the grinder pump, so I upped that number and then took it from the collection system. And then we broke it out into the 5 contracts for the collection system, just to help with the cash flow and construction. And we grouped contract 5 to be all of the pump stations so that we could standardize. And in talking to contractors, it would be, you could standardize it and then it would be less cost. So you could have your contractors that would just focus on pipe. And we also didn't want to have all the pump stations built up first and then the plant not go online for 3 years. So we decided to put it towards the end. And that also gives us the wiggle room for it might be longer lead times potentially to get like the wet wells and a lot of the materials for it.
Do the piping contractors also do pump stations and vice versa? Or
Pipeline guy? Yeah, they could, these are not like, they're typical pump stations, like you don't have to be, special contractor to do this type of pump station, right? But I think, if you combine the pump stations, 4 of them under one contract, you get one guy would come in and just do them all. I think it's just more efficient. And from a scheduling perspective, like Jackie was talking about, it makes more sense. Get the pipe in the ground, and then the last thing you do, you make the pump stations and you connect them to the source.
Ask a stupid question. $3.5 million for police. Do we have to hire police?
Yeah. No, we pay them overtime.
Do you have enough police to pay that much overtime?
No, it's a regional effort.
Oh, okay, so you're collecting.
Every time a new contract comes out, police, they buy boats and cars.
Well, this is like 35,000 hours.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But that's just one, think about it. Orleans is doing it, Chatham, Provincetown, everybody.
And the contractors haven't had any problems.
I haven't heard from the chief that we've had any problems.
Okay.
I mean, we went really conservative, so I based it off of water and then just each contract, you could have 2 crews. So depending on where they're working, I mean, some of the back roads, we tried, I don't want to say save money in water, and you could have 1 detail, but on Route 6, you'll have 1 at the front, 1 at the back, potentially. I think at times we had 3 or 4 details for 1 crew, or if you're paving, they usually have like 5 or 6 details.
And water started out expensive because we were working on 4 or 5 contracts at the same time.
Wasn't the total around 3 million?
Yeah, I think.
For
it was.
police and a lot more miles though, of pipe.
Yeah, but that,
Yeah, but we did smaller
These are a lot deeper.
broken up.
Huh?
These will take longer for linear foot.
Their rate was cheaper.
their rate was a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Like every 3 years, they get a,
Cause they're down so deep and everything.
it's state rate.
Yeah. So this becomes like every project, you have a contractor, a couple crews, you're working on 2 separate streets, you have to have 2 cops per location, right? At a minimum. So 1 at the front, 1 at the end. And then you add the hours. You're always underestimate police detail, every community, every project, every single time, because you end up using a lot more than you think.
So you think we're covered?
That's based
It'll
on
be
the
the
number
first
of
time.
working days, and, number of crews and everything else. If anything, the water project was a good indicator here, right? So that's
Yeah.
what Jackie
Yeah.
pulled in here.
Good, straight.
And the overtime, so I included like the 10-hour days.
Good. I had some questions about the bottom line. The 54 for the treatment plant, is that also the number that GHD came up with? I can't find it.
That's their number.
That's their number. Oh,
Yeah, so the only difference, so we had the original PEF submission and then now the one that we did in October.
yeah.
So I didn't use that number. I kept everything the same. And then I think the only thing I changed was the grinder pumps I increased and took that out of the collection system, but SRF purposes, I just left it the same.
Yeah.
But then this has the updated number, so that 54 includes it's what she showed us and it includes the 10%.
That was my next question.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
that
then-
included 10, yeah.
That contingency of 5.2 could just be allocated to anything, but our collection system number, we did include the contingency in there for the most part.
Right.
But it could technically be 6.5% of the collection.
That's what it says in your footnote, right?
Yep.
6.5.
But this number that's on her sheet says 63.9.
And you broke it out.
Yeah, she included, I think, police, utility.
So maybe
The
GHG.
And then the engineered columns, those are contracts that we have with you guys and with GHD? No,
No,
Those are-
that was just the original percentages from the PEF.
so when do those become?
We don't have a contract for construction phase services with you,
Okay.
yet, so we're preparing the scope and budget for those. Based on the 5 contracts and the number of years.
And we don't have a contract with GHD yet either?
No,
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 only through design for us and
So these are
Right.
your best guesses?
yeah, those were carried in the PF application that went to the state.
Yeah.
It was an estimate based on the level of effort, project duration, all of that stuff. So we're trying to now refine the actual number. So we'll have that to you guys by the end of the month, maybe.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the,
And
So-
they're kind of SRF, they don't have strict rules on it, but they have like a standard, so that's where we came up the original number. Like, I think Ziad, you would know better off the top of your head, but like OPM, SRF kind of also base it on averages, so OPM is usually a certain percent of the construction fee. Or engineers are usually like 15-20% of the construction fee, so we base it off the SRF rules on the PEF.
So that jives with this.
So the number, yes, the number was submitted to SRF, jives with this number
Yeah.
here.
So you were saying you kept it at the 170, because that's the number. But
Yes.
really, a lot of these numbers are fairly solid. So we're not gonna come in a lot lower than 170.
I mean, there's contingency,
We got a
In our
contingency, but that's not crazy high. Cause she's got her 10 in here. And you've got 5, so that's the only,
I mean, the only way is when you bid this, right?
yeah,
And you know, depending on, so the way we're thinking, you know, the collection system would be 5 separate bids. You break up, you're trying to make them even, in terms of money.
Yep.
And get some competition there, and hopefully, usually pipeline is water main or sewer project or something like that is very competitive. You almost what you're gonna get per foot, right? Plant work, vertical construction is more challenging because, you know, you're dealing with multiple disciplines, maybe not enough contractors on Cape to be able to handle something like that. So we feel like the collection system will be competitive with the 5 contracts that we have drafted. And if anything, you know, maybe there's some savings, maybe if the bids come in lower
Yeah.
than the actual projections, I guess we'll be in good shape.
right. No, I guess I'm mostly concerned is if they come in higher, you know, do we have any wiggle room?
well, my understanding is this is not a estimate for the job. This is a cash flow for the SRF. Right, the estimate hopefully would come in at 165 or 160. Who knows what it's gonna be until it's done. Because this was done for the purposes of the state.
Yeah,
Exactly, and we wanna project the full amount, not that we're gonna use it, but it's easier. We wanna make sure they give us the pack.
yeah, no,
ahead
I
of
get
time.
that. I'm not arguing that, but at this point, this is as close to an estimate as we have. So
Right.
it's kind of
Mhm.
interesting that, and a lot of these things are kind of set like all your stuff. So anyway, just thank you.
Mhm. I guess, I don't know if I mentioned, the way we broke it up also matches the colors on the map for the most part. I think the red goes into the plant and we combine that with the transfer station pump station. But by dividing it by area, we could have one contractor responsible for all of the elevations that go into the pump station. So we broke it up that way and then also by cost, like Z had mentioned, so we could make sure it was competitive and you weren't getting small contractors who don't know what they're doing, but also not large contractors that you could only get a couple bidding on it.
I mean, it's not out of the question that maybe one contractor may end up, let's just say the first year we bid, 2 contracts for the collection system. It's not, crazy to think that one person may end up with both, right? That's, depending on their bonding capacity and depending on how busy they are and everything. So at the end of the day, I want to make sure that we have a good contractor, one, and then two, somebody who's not gonna nickel and dime and,
So when do you put together the $170 million estimate? Combining GHD, yours, owner's points to get one number to compare it to the 170.
so we have theirs. We're
Yeah.
waiting on ours from the estimator, so that kind of
So
to
that's
see
into
where that
October.
is, right? We have ours for the collection system.
Yeah.
And we know what their fee is going to be for the engineering services during construction.
Mhm.
We kind of know roughly what ours is going to be, so maybe at the end of this month, we should have a more refined
Better.
version. So, we'll wait for our estimator, we'll just present it all together as
Okay.
one.
Do we need to continue on with GHD through construction, or is there an opportunity to seek out someone else at that point?
Well,
Just curious.
no, they designed the plant. Yeah, they designed the plant and it's, it's ideal for them to review and approve shops and submittals.
Okay,
And then, has it happened before? Yes.
not ideal though.
Not ideal.
Okay.
You want the same,
Won't be good at all.
yeah, it won't be good.
Ask it for trouble.
rolling down the hill.
I'm just curious.
Would you get the sense that there's a better sense of urgency going on, Charlie?
Do I get, no,
Should never use
So-
those.
I
It's an
will
urgency in the
Yeah.
same sense.
but there's continuous movement. It's
Yeah.
just, but I wouldn't say sense of urgency.
You're not ready to pick up the phone.
So we have, based on the amount of time left, there's some concerns with the fact that the schedule will be met, right? Can you back into the schedule? Can you rush the design? Sure, but that kind of opens up an opportunity for, if you don't have plan set and design documents and, nice and tight, that opens up
High
the
school.
potential for change orders and issues along the way, right? And that's
Yeah.
why we talked about last time, if
Mm.
we could at least get 2 contracts out and have a contractor on board by June 30th, so we could check the box and they could take their time to kind of refine the design a little bit better and make it more robust. Maybe that's the way to go.
Mhm.
And I know we did talk, they talk about the schedule. We had the design workshop, we still don't have a full closure on the 60% design and design reviews. We don't have a full closure on the value engineering aspects. And now we look and we only have 2.5 months, right? And put the holidays, think of the Thanksgiving, Christmas and the other holidays. Now we're trying to rush to get everything done. We still have to go through the file sub-bid pre-qualifications. We have to go general bid qualification. That bidding period will be at a minimum 4 to 5 months. And then enter the SRF review, permission to advertise, permission to award. Now we're backing into, I think it seems like we're rushing into this, right? That's our feeling. You add what was discussed on the, you can't do any ground disturbance before November. So that means now,
I wanna check that.
right, but
We didn't-
even if that's true though, if you award the contract by June 30th, you're not gonna have a contractor on board by July 1. It's not gonna happen. They have to go through their buyouts, they have to go through their paperwork. The earliest you could have somebody on site would be September 1, right? Now, September 1,
They wouldn't send anybody else to scrape the ground and
Well-
start the site work.
well, let's talk about you wanna get the concrete done to be able to come out of the ground, right? So you come in on September 1, that's hardly enough to get the site ready to go in 3 months because now you're in winter conditions. In winter conditions, they're probably not gonna do anything. So why are we running and, rushing to get to that point? To me, it seems like you take your time, you bid it in the fall, and then you clear in the winter time, clear, grab, prep the site, and then the first opportunity in the spring, you go ahead and start doing your concrete work. And that gives you March all the way until December of the following year to come out of the ground, to have all the concrete work done, get the salt shed taken care of. I think it's just much better approach, and I think it gives us a better degree of certainty that we have a tight design,
Mm.
right? That's our feeling. I think
So what you're saying is 1 and 2,
we bid our 1 and 2 for the collection system.
always be,
We have,
about 3 months.
yes.
So I think we talked about if we can split off the site design, then that shows SRF that we're making progress on it. As opposed to trying to push it off till later.
Yeah, that's right. We gotta worry about that too. Keeping SRF happy.
Right.
Have you had conversations with GHD about this as far as in detail or not?
Yeah, well, that was on the,
You're
We
supposed
had- we
to,
had that.
months ago, yeah.
About putting the site work into a separate.
Well, they didn't want to do that, remember? We had,
But
yeah,
they kind of changed their mind when Jackie told them that they
Right.
didn't have to have it by October 3rd. Well.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, oh, that makes sense.
yeah.
So they might still go along with that, but that's not what you're talking about. In terms of keeping, would that be enough to satisfy SRF so we could push the.
Yeah, honestly, I think,
construction off?
Jack and I were talking, I think what satisfies SRF, this is a one package deal, right? We're not really,
Right.
this was all submitted to SRF as one package, the
Yeah.
plant and the collection system. If we have 2 contracts valued at, let's say, $20 million in the collection system, and we have somebody on board now, similar to what the water main was all about, they were bidding contract after contract, right? If we have 2 on board by June 30th, 2026, I think we could approach SRF, say, here's what we're gonna do, and let them tell us otherwise. If they say, okay, great, maybe we go to GHD, we say, okay, we want you to take your time, and don't say that.
Reduce those moves.
Interesting meeting tomorrow. What approach are you gonna take when you start putting the schedule together tomorrow?
I mean, I've talked about it before, just that it's, I think we were talking about it last week, just that it's just not reasonable. It's fine to promise certain dates, but if the 60% was more like 30%, that's why she was mentioning that interim submission, because I didn't want us to get a 90% and then go through this, oh, you can't have comments because it's 90, it's supposed to be final. So if we get another version to look at sooner, but we don't have the 30% comments back, we don't have all the 60% comments edits back, so then I think if they're buying an interim submission early November, okay, we need a few weeks to get them comments. That only gives them a couple weeks to get them to give us a 90 in December.
Yeah.
And then we're supposed to review the 90 in December and not.
They take a vacation, the whole place shuts down. It doesn't.
Right.
So if we don't have the 90 by December, how does that affect us? I mean, what you're talking about is letting 2 contracts go for the collection system. And letting them work more tight and tighten up the specs on
The plant.
right, so that delays the 90% of the plant, doesn't?
Well, I think my strategy, or what Ziad was saying, was that June 30th for principal forgiveness, if we have 1 contract signed by then, we
Sure.
need it. So that's why we're looking, we'll definitely get the collection system signed by then.
Right.
But I also don't want to approach SRF and say, oh, we just need more time on the plant, because the plant's supposed to go first. So if I go to SRF and go through the cash flow and explain why we're breaking it up this way, it's in the best interest for the town, it's in the best interest for you. We are starting on the plant, we're doing all the site civil, and this is why, and this is the best approach. I can't imagine them saying anything versus me going to them and be like, yeah, we're not ready for the plant, can you give us more time?
Well, is there?
But they still have to they still have to get to 90% at some point. Is
Jason.
that a requirement? There is date certain from SRF that has to be done.
Well, they submitted, let's put it this way, on October 3rd, they submitted a plan set. It doesn't say 90%, doesn't say anything. It says SRF submission. Now, we know it's not 90%. We know it's not even 60%, right?
Right.
So this was submitted. I think, I guess to your point, we don't have to tell us. I think if we don't do anything and we stick to the schedule, my fear is come September, backing into a final design doesn't really give us the good, comfort level that's gonna be a final design. It's not, you'd rather have, I'm on a job today as not an OPM, somebody called us, said, can you help us here? We have a contractor, I'm not gonna mention their name. And they have, halfway through construction, they have 158 change orders and valued at about $9 million.
You're making
Right.
Peter and I nauseous, because we just went through.
So that's what we're trying to avoid here. And I'm not saying this is a situation that's happening here, but I think because the fact that we feel, like the value engineering things, we talked about the wall thicknesses, we're addressing some of those, but we haven't really seen them. And I don't want to be in a position where here comes December 31st, here's your whatever revised number, like, all right, now we need to rush into making a decision. Now SRF could come back and say, nope, forget it. You need to submit everything by, and that's a separate story. If they come out and they say that, okay, I guess they left us with no choice here, right? But if SRF agrees to this, I think GHD, they were open to it last time when we talked, right?
Yes.
They said, okay, I'm sure they would sit back, but maybe in their mind, they're thinking, we're rushing into this, we'd rather take a little bit more time. And if it comes from the town, great, so we could take our time and then get it done. And to the schedule that in my view, if I was constructing this, if in fact we can't touch the site in November, what are we doing? Why are we rushing to get that done, right? If that is true, I think we should probably sit back a little bit, like, all right, take your time, not take your time, but, put some effort making the plans tight, and then we could maybe bid it in the fall.
Yes, good question. Does that put you in a better purchasing, bidding position too by delaying it 3 months, because isn't the bidding heavy in the spring?
That's right.
And then
Everybody's bidding in the spring.
Yeah,
and all the people that don't have the work will be bidding less, it'd be more competitive, I would think.
and honestly, it's decisions like this, Zia and Jackie knows that really helped us out with water. These kinds of strategic
Yeah.
moments really helped us. So
That makes sense.
10 times out of 10, if we have a strategic moment like this, or in the next 6 months, and it's EPG's view versus GHD's view, we're gonna go with I'm gonna suggest that we go with EPG's view, because I think that's what you guys, you're great engineers, but you're also really good at the process of managing a project like this.
Well, thank you, Jackie. And yesterday we had a design review meeting with them, and something came up, right? And we asked the question. I'm like, okay, so the salt shed. Think about it this way:
Yeah.
the current salt shed is in the middle of everything, right? So if you're clearing the site, and let's say you're getting going in September, and you want to clear the site to be able to start digging for the foundation and do the yard piping and everything, you almost have to get rid of that salt shed. So what do you do if you have a snowstorm? What do you do, right? So we asked the question, what is the sequence here? What is the thought process on building the new shed as opposed to demoing this one? And can you actually work around the existing salt shed without having demo it, right? So they're looking into that. And maybe if we push that off, we'll do the site clearing in the fall or winter of 2026, and then actual construction starts like in March, heavy construction. Maybe that solves the whole issue. You could come in, demo the shed, have the whole site, and then think about building the shed in the back sometimes in the summertime. It's just a sequence, how you see the schedule fitting
But if we
together.
carve out that site clearing piece, is that showing progress on the plans?
Yes, I mean, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's
At the
what,
same time, we let 2 contracts go for the,
right. And I think Zia had mentioned before, we wanted to take it out because then you're not having a GC who's gonna hire Digit or RBO to do the site work anyway. You're just gonna get them directly and not have that markup.
yeah, we got lots of local tree contractors to take the trees down.
Yeah, and local diggers too, to dig a hole, dig a foundation. Yeah, of course, all of them gonna come from here. Yesterday, Steve was on the call. It wasn't yesterday, it was Tuesday. And we talked about socializing the aspect, hey, we're bidding this. So what you want to do is you want to get the word out there to let contractors know this is coming, right? And you know, a lot of things could come into play here. Backlog, you know, your capacity, your, you know, depending on what you have going on, if you're a contractor, do I want to chase Eastham or do I want to stay like in Boston or something like that? And we all know that this type of work is only going to have a handful of contractors that would be interested in, especially with Eastham here on the Outer Cape, you know, that adds a little bit more to the thing. So we talked about maybe starting to talk to, you know, contractors and subcontractors that this is coming and we're going to share some of the information with them. And we need to actually get going on this pretty quick here because we don't want to wait till last minute and say, hey, by the way, here's Eastham going out to construction, right? So that's another task that we need to kind of tackle here in the next couple of weeks.
Where would the bat requirement come from? It's not the state natural heritage. Is it a federal Endangered Species Act? I don't,
What did she say? Was it down
Yeah, I
here?
kind of
was
was
like-
listening, and she said.
it's not
Say you
in
can
the
start
state
above
natural
the-
heritage
I
district,
Habitat.
feel like that's what
That's what she
That's
said.
happening?
Yeah.
but it's not.
Exactly, yeah. So.
That'd be kind of right. Yeah.
And that's what I say, it wasn't in the report where they would talk.
I
about
wonder
it.
if it's the National Heritage for the Turtle Passage, because the construction is like November 15th through,
But the transfer station site is not at all in there.
it's not.
No, I
don't
mean,
know.
and it's an active site where they would like exclude it, they exclude property, so. We'll have to ask her.
This is the first time I hear about it, honestly. I'm not
I
sure.
heard a lot about the bat in Wellfleet when we were doing the river restoration project, but that was on federal land, so I don't know.
But even if we could start with
Yeah.
November, kind of like your plan better, where we wait this spring. Yeah. You know,
Like I said, I think it's you're not, especially a project of this magnitude, you know, you're a contractor, you're coming on board, yeah, you sign the contract. It takes minimum 3-4 months to do your buyouts and then get your ducks in a row. And now you're going in there in November, start digging and hopefully doing some concrete in the winter. We may have, I don't know, we may have a nice winter for sure, but most likely.
contractors are gonna price it for winter.
Yeah, because now you're into hot weather, cold weather
Water.
concreting and then heating and some other things, and that adds a lot more to the
Lost
project.
work days and.
Mhm.
Shorter
You could do
days.
site clearing without doing.
Yeah, what about, so the salt sheds and part of the project, right? Part of SRF.
Well, that's something we talked about internally. Maybe can we bid this separate?
So I'm wondering,
Yeah.
I mean, this treatment, guys that build the treatment plant,
So pretty accurate
Necessarily, yeah.
doing it, right? We
they
could
don't
bid
have
that
to
separate.
do salt sheds, and anybody can do them.
Mhm.
So, and then I was just thinking about if I was running DPW and had to find a place for the salt, it'd be nice to. I mean, the salt shed is kind of all off by itself on the site. You could build it now and have it and move the salt over there and get that thing out of the way before they even get going on that.
I think the resistance when we first floated this idea that break up the contract to kind of reduce the overhead cost and make it more competitive. I think the resistance was that it takes a lot of effort to pull certain
Right.
aspects of the plans and specs and then just, you know,
Make another package, yeah.
it's not that much of a thing, but I think also there was some concerns about the yard piping and the beds would have to be done by the GC who's doing the plant, right? I think we could just take out all the yard piping and just have the clearing excavation and foundation excavation part of the first contract. You could also make the salt shed part of the first contract, put it out there, build it. Once you build it, you demo the existing one. The next guy comes in to do plant construction, right? And they'll do the yard piping and the plant foundation, all the stuff. it can be done. There's no question in my mind. We've done it in Weymouth, we've done it in Concord. It was done in Tri-Town, not by us, by others. Actually, this is one of the, common value engineering points you say. Consider those things because you're cutting overheads and you make it more competitive.
Construction management, like,
I think the next step would be to approach SRF and say, here is what we're going to do, right? And again, if they say no, this is all dead in the water, right? I mean, I don't think we have a choice. But if they say yes, I think it merits that we have that discussion, especially that we don't have, this 100% comfort level that we're going to be ready to go by January.
do they care as an entity if it's 170 or 150? I'm just saying it's a cost savings for the town, probably. Is that a cost savings for them too? Probably not. I mean, do they look at,
I think if it's cost saving for the towns, I think they welcome it for sure.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, is
Yeah, they'll
a
welcome it.
big advantage.
What they'd say no to is if we asked for a 50 million pack and then said, oh, well, we don't really need the 50 million in the first year. They'd be like, okay.
Yeah,
But if we do the 2 pipe contracts and then a partial plant contract, that could still work with the cash flow.
you're talking $35 million awards that year, probably.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, the other thing is, you could go ahead and start and bid this plant the way it is today. And if the number comes in much higher than anticipated, you may have to go back and rethink, value engineering and maybe rebid it. Right? Make some changes.
Which could definitely happen.
It could
So
definitely happen.
You wanna have time for that too.
Right.
Possibility.
So hopefully by the end of this month, we'll have our independent estimator's point of view on this, and hopefully we'll see what the numbers are gonna be. And,
If you were gonna let out the collection bid, should you probably not do the routes, depending on the time of year, you wouldn't do Route 6, right? You're talking about one of these.
yeah, so each contract we had allocated about a year of construction and then
Yeah.
6 months for closeout. So what we do is we thinking bidding the first 2 this winter, right? And with the start date of July 1,
Okay.
right? Now, same thing, if you award the contract,
That takes out number 2. Because it's the summer.
right? I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm not sure.
We
You've
started,
done work here in the past in the summer on the water side?
No,
yes,
Route
not on
6.
Route
No, I'm not saying like local neighborhoods.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
that be done? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe they could start there somewhere, and then when,
Oh, one of, yeah.
yeah. And then maybe after Labor Day or something like that, they could start jumping on Route 6. Or maybe defer that till the winter, right, when it's a little bit less traffic.
and we broke up the contract, so the first one would be right at the plant, so they could start there, and then 1 Route 6 contract, so we wouldn't have 2 different contractors in 2 different spots on Route 6.
Do you shut down the neighborhood work too, or just the Route 6 work?
We could do whatever you want, what we did
No,
for water,
No, water.
oh, for water.
Yeah, shut.
We did neighborhood work, but we were more strict about their order of operations. Like normally, okay, you have a contract, you just have to do all the work. So some contractors would put all the pipe in and then come back and do the services, but in the summer, we made them only have 2 roads open at one time. So they put the pipe in on one road, test it, and while it was being tested, they put the pipe in on the other road, and if it passed, they do the services, just so they could go to each neighborhood as quickly as possible and only have 2 open at one time.
Also two ways in, so that you didn't probably look at.
Is the third party estimator gonna look at your estimate too, the Plexus system?
No, yeah, so basically the collection system is pretty straightforward. I mean, we have a lot of projects happening at the same time.
Right.
We looked at Mashpee bids, we looked at Dennis, which is a little bit closer. We even assigned a wider contingency than Dennis because we're still further away here than Dennis, right? Dennis was, the good news is, a few years ago, it was only 2 or 3 contractors would consider bidding here on the collection system. And this year, a lot more competition, people that are, coming more here than ever before. So Dennis was very competitive and I saw new faces in Dennis. RJV is a good contractor. We did the pump station Hyannis with, and they have a big chunk in Dennis and they'll be interested in coming up here as well. So it would be RJV, Diggett, Robert B. Hour, CC Construction, and then a few others that would be chasing this. So we assigned, to answer your question, I think we took the kind of the worst case scenario, and then we even assigned a larger factor, but we're comfortable with these numbers. I don't think we need to.
Done it before,
Yeah.
it'd be a waste of money to have.
Right, exactly.
To do it.
Yeah.
Let's hope it goes away in water. Yeah. Some surprisingly good bids on water.
Diggett's
Except
planning
for
it
the
out.
first one, remember?
The water tower.
The tower, yeah.
Everybody panicked.
CBNI, was it?
Yeah, it was just, it came in like way over estimate and yeah,
It was the first thing,
it was the first bid and
so
it
everybody
was
panicked.
wild.
Very understandable. Well,
Because I was so happy when the second, third, luckily we did them pretty quickly, so. When the second, third and fourth came in way under.
Orleans is.
That's when
Trudging
Sheila
ahead
told me
with
there's no
with
crying.
collection systems all over.
Yeah,
It's like,
you know what else is, like Ashby decided to kind of move forward with phase 2, like
wow.
right away. They didn't wait one bit. As soon as they finished phase 1, they said, okay, we just,
Today's paper yesterday about the underground treatment plant they want to put in
where?
Mashpee.
Underground,
In the time?
Yeah.
underground? I didn't see that.
From some neighborhood.
Oh,
I don't remember towns having to go back to town meeting though, like
in Mashpee?
anywhere, like Mashpee did, maybe they did have a.
The phase 2 they did,
Yeah.
it was like, I think it was like $210 million, I think, but
And Yarmouth didn't, unless they split up the contracts again, because
Right.
so many towns are doing multi-phase.
right.
So we could do phase 1 and a half.
Yeah.
Residents wanted to say Mashpee.
See, indeed.
Yeah, I thought that, have you built any underground, this one treatment plants?
What was the driver behind the underground? Is it because of land?
Some treatment.
Underground treatment facility. Areas that are too difficult by city, they have, we're centralized, so. 211 pounds.
Anything else?
Are we good? Yeah.
26 billion.
Yeah, 26.
Lauren didn't respond to my email yet. Did she mention it?
Brad, you want to go back to grinder
Yeah.
pumps?
I talked to her Wednesday. She's like.
Especially when you go back to grinder pump stuff.
Anytime you're ready.
About it before. I'm like, yeah.
I'm warning you.
Like, let's do it.
This is the elephant in the room.
Everything's just.
You guys.
Well, it's on.
I like the idea.
Yeah.
Doing these plans the way you guys laid out.
Oh, yeah. We should pick up
We
by
It's on our
sea.
mind for sure. I think what we need to do is confirm with SRF that,
Thank you, Sam.
this is definitely